From Oklahoma, Mr. Brecheen is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just last week at the Aspen Security Forum, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, referred to the inflow of illegal immigrants into our country. He referred to them as non-citizens. If you think about that, it really says a lot as to where this administration is. And, you know, to think what would happen if he was more concerned with solving this problem than being politically correct. Mr. Mears, you are a representative of 26,000 different cattle producers.
That is correct.
In Texas, and I know Representative Pfluger, myself, others on this panel grew up ranching. How has this impacted your ability for your family to feel safe and secure on your place, on your property?
Well, we live with a constant presence on the ranch. It is constant. The ranch that we live on now is about 20 miles from north to south. And on any given day, you could travel around the ranch, and any road going from west to east has tracks on it every day. Trash everywhere, litter everywhere. We just never know who's coming through that's friendly or not. So it is a constant danger that we feel. You know, I have two daughters, 8 and 10 years old, and they live on one of the most beautiful ranches in Texas. And they should be able to, as I did when I grew up, go down to the barn and feed their horses alone. You know, doing some of these things that instills trustworthiness and work ethic in our children. And the environment that we live in does not lend itself because of the safety factor to allow them to do these things on their own.
Yeah, when we have hundreds of those on the terrorist watch list that have been apprehended at the border in the last couple of years, it kind of sends a signal. Is my daughter safe patrolling the ranch on her own? Mr. Benson, you have been speaking extensively about your time, seeing from both sides of the border, unique opportunity to kind of look at that. Once you have opportunity, just kind of talk about just the things that you've seen that are just astounding to you that maybe you've not had a chance thus far in this hearing to talk about. Whether it's the cartel, the enrichment of the cartel, whether it's the human trafficking element.
I mean, honestly, in all the years that I've been covering the border or have been spent my time down there in both sides, I just have never seen the volumes, the numbers, just the thousands and thousands of people just pouring over like a D-Day invasion, landing 5 boats at a time, and then they turn back and they get more, and they're just, that I think is what stunned me. And honestly, you know, when I talk to Border Patrol guys and women down there who were working it too for years and years, none of them had ever seen anything like it too. It's not propaganda, it's videotaped. And also I would point out that on the issue of asylum, you know, I've interviewed, you have to be politically persecuted to claim asylum on one of 5 grounds. I won't get into all of that, but I have grocery bags of abandoned ID cards, abandoned in Mexico, and passports, because those ruin your credible fear interview. If you have those, they tell you where they tell our guys where you've been, and for the last 5 or 10 years, not in the country you're saying you were from. There is mass fraud in the asylum system. All of the immigrants that I interview, I would say almost all of them say they're coming to work. That is not a ground for asylum.
Yeah. You know, it was mentioned earlier in this committee, a member said, look, if you look at the 90,000 people that have come into New York, that their attest was that you won't find any violent crime. It's interesting enough, you can just Google it quickly, you can find that 2 New York City men who attempted to intervene when migrants outside the shelter started throwing objects at people on a sidewalk in Harlem. The New York City Police Department said the officers responded to reports of an assault. Central Park, Madison Avenue. Just, you know, contradicting this narrative that we're talking about bringing people in that are, you know, you would think if you're breaking the law to get here, maybe, and you've got 200 people on terrorist watch list, and it's not just people coming directly from Mexico, almost representative of almost all nations. We might have some bad actors. And so I've got one last question here. Mr. Bensman, what national security interest do you fear? What keeps you up at night given what you've seen?
I look